Finally, Asahi team has announced the first Apple GPU driver for M1 and M2 Max. This is the biggest update to Asahi Linux ever since the initial release. The all-new GPU driver can be used to render the graphics, animations, or transitions and brings its support for work in progress, OpenGL 2.1 and OpenGL ES 2.0. Now, these features are fair enough for hardware acceleration with desktop environments like GNOME and KDE. It's also more than enough for playing older 3D games like never before. The driver is fast enough to run old games at 60 frames per second at 4K. So let's take a look at the new update of Asahi Linux in action. Now this is my MacBook Air M1 base variant. I'm running the KDE Plasma desktop environment with Wayland session and the UI seems to be buttery smooth. Now take a look at the Plasma desktop animations. I would say the GPU driver is working perfectly and getting the most out of the Apple Silicon. I also tried rendering a circle animation written with Java FX and haven't noticed any stutters or frame drops. While writing this small piece of code, I did notice a bit of lag with IntelliJ. It doesn't impact the output after running the program. Now just look at that animating circle, it's perfectly amazing. Also, I forgot to mention, I installed GNOME Desktop alongside KDE Plasma in Asahi Linux. It was not as perfect as Plasma in terms of rendering the UI effects. You may notice a minor lag while switching between applications and multitasking. Now keep in mind, this is an experimental Rust-written open source GPU driver for Apple M1 and M2. It's not fully perfect and needs some optimizations to make all things work as intended. Now for this reason, the GPU drivers are not merged into the mainline kernel. Now, after installing the fresh copy of Asahi Linux on your M1 or M2 Mac, it may not be available out of the box and you have to manually install the GPU drivers and Asahi Edge kernel to take an advantage of hardware-based rendering. Anyway, to get new drivers, first go ahead and run this command to update the system. You may face a lot of issues while running each command. It won't work the first time and you have to keep running the command until it perfectly installs. Now once it's done, install the Asahi Edge kernel and MereSai package. Since only one version of MereSai can be installed at a time, Pacman will prompt you to replace MereSai with MereSai Asahi Edge. It's just a normal thing, just go ahead and approve it. Now, once you have done installing the GPU drivers, it's recommended to run Wayland instead of Xorg. If you're using the KDE Plasma desktop environment, make sure to install the Wayland session by running this command. Then reboot your Mac. And pick the Wayland session at the top of the login screen. And voila, now you can see we are running a Plasma desktop with hardware-based rendering. Then choose Display and Monitor from the settings. Then set the scale value to 200%. Now choose to log out and log in back for these changes to fully apply. Keep in mind, you should not use the Xorg session with the desktop environment, which may result in screen tearing and other issues. Also, the brightness intensity can be increased or decreased to make your visibility better and more comfortable. Unfortunately, this update doesn't fix built-in speakers, and you need to rely on Bluetooth or a headphone jack to watch videos and listen to music. Now, speaking about the performance, it's much faster than before. Thanks to the GPU-based rendering, the UI seems to be snappier. Most of the graphic-intensive applications that I tried weren't having any issues. Now, thanks to this Edge kernel and optimizations, you may notice a huge improvements to the power management. Now, the battery won't drain faster and provides a good amount of screen time. It's not as better as Mac OS, but still, you can manage using Asahi Linux for more than 3+ hours with normal usage that involves browsing, modifying documents, watching videos, and more. Overall, I would say Asahi Linux is currently the only Linux distribution that runs on bare metal on Apple Silicon with GPU-based rendering. But compared to Intel Macs, Linux on Apple Silicon is freaking fast and impressive. The only problem that we encounter is the lack of app support for ARM64. Now, most of the Linux applications are made for Intel or AMD processors, which won't run on the ARM architecture. It would be nicer if Asahi team integrates Rosetta 2 for Linux to emulate x86 applications for Apple Silicon. The progress of Asahi Linux will be improved in the coming months with more and more optimizations and may bring a stable Linux experience for M1 or M2 Macs. Now, as of now, you can still use Asahi Linux as your daily driver. The built-in speakers, microphone, and FaceTime camera are the only issues that are currently disabled for a good reason. Now, other than that, it's simply perfect than before. Now, that being said, it's time to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. This has been KSK Ryle. I will see you at the next one.